Just days after the world mourned the death of Pope Francis, a stunning silence was broken, not by a cardinal or Vatican official, but by someone far more unexpected. His sister, Maria Elena Bergoglio, stepped out of the shadows with a voice trembling not from grief, but from the weight of long-held truths. And what she revealed has left even the most devout Catholics speechless. Hidden truths, emotional memories, and a side of Pope Francis the world had never seen, until now. As tributes flooded in from every continent, honoring the 88-year-old pontiff who had guided the Catholic Church through a tumultuous decade, many believed the book had closed on his legacy. They thought they knew everything. The humble Pope from Argentina. The reformer. The man who championed compassion over doctrine. But then came Maria Elena. For years, she had chosen silence. Living quietly in Buenos Aires, she stayed far from the spotlight, never capitalizing on her brother's global fame, never even speaking publicly about him, until now. Something about his passing unlocked a part of her that had long remained hidden. Her words were not scripted. They weren't filtered by Vatican advisors. They came from the heart. And they shook the foundation of the man millions revered. In this video, we're diving deep into everything Maria Elena revealed, from personal regrets and unspoken stories from their childhood, to emotional accounts of Pope Francis' final days, and even shocking claims about a secret Vatican file. Her revelations paint a portrait of a man not only burdened by faith but also haunted by a past the Church never wanted exposed. Stay with us. Because as we go deeper, you'll hear truths that challenge everything you thought you knew about Pope Francis. And what Maria said near the end of her statement. It left an entire press room silent. Let's begin. Maria Elena Bergoglio is Pope Francis' only surviving sibling. She lived far from the polished marble halls of the Vatican, choosing instead a life of simplicity in their native Argentina. While Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the man who would become Pope, rose to prominence, she kept her distance from the media, never once giving a televised interview. Until now. Following his death, Maria Elena made an emotional appearance on a local Argentine broadcast. She didn't speak as the Pope's sister, she spoke as Jorge's sister. The boy she grew up with. The boy who once ran through dusty yards chasing stray dogs, who comforted her when she was sick, and who wept bitterly the night their father died. He was not just the Pope to me, she said. He was Jorge. My brother. Then she said something no one expected. I never wanted him to become Pope, she confessed. It cost us more than the world will ever know. That one sentence sent shockwaves through religious and secular circles alike. What did she mean by a cost? And why hadn't she ever said anything before? As journalists scrambled for answers, Maria Elena offered more. And the story she shared wasn't about power or religion. It was about family. About wounds that never healed. And about a man whose personal pain shaped the decisions he made for the global church. Pope Francis often spoke of humility and service. But Maria Elena says those values came from pain, not privilege. She described their childhood in Buenos Aires, humble, filled with faith, but not without its dark corners. According to her, the defining moment in Jorge's life wasn't his ordination. It came at age 12, when he uncovered a devastating family secret: their father had a second family. A betrayal of blood. Maria said Jorge was never the same after that. His innocence vanished. In its place came a deep fixation with righteousness, with penance, with righting wrongs, even if they weren't his own. He didn't run to God because he was called, she said solemnly. He ran because he was trying to escape the shame. That revelation forced many to rethink Pope Francis' image, not as a saintly figure rising from divine calling, but as a wounded soul searching for redemption. Suddenly, the Pope's lifelong humility took on a new meaning. What if it wasn't just virtue, but atonement? But the most stunning part of Maria Elena's account was yet to come. In her final sit-down interview, her voice trembled, not from emotion, but from the weight of what she was about to reveal. She said that Pope Francis kept a private file, referred to within secret Vatican circles as il dossier nascosto, the hidden file. According to her, this file contained documents, letters, and recordings collected by Jorge during his time as Archbishop and later as Pope. These weren't theological writings. They were records of corruption, abuse cover-ups, and secret deals between the Church and authoritarian regimes. No one knew the full extent, she said. Not even his closest advisors. How did she know? Before Jorge left for Rome, he gave her a handwritten letter and a key. A real, physical key, to a private archive hidden beneath Vatican City. The letter read, "If anything happens to me, and the world starts asking why I kept silent, tell them to look where even light avoids the corner." Maria never used the key. Out of loyalty. Out of fear. But the morning he died, she opened the letter. And what she found confirmed her worst fears. Her brother had uncovered a web of high-ranking abuse cover-ups and financial corruption so vast it shook his faith to the core. He remained silent, not out of complicity, but because he feared what the full truth would do to the Church. "He once told me," Maria whispered, "maybe I should have been the Pope who ended the lies, not protected them." She says in his final weeks, Jorge tried to arrange for the file's release. But something, or someone, intervened. The file vanished. The Vatican denies it ever existed. As the world watched the solemn procession of Pope Francis' funeral, only a handful knew what really transpired in his final hours. According to Maria, his last moments were not spent in peace, but in desperation. He had one final request. "Promise me," he whispered, "you'll tell them about the children." Maria was confused. "What children?" Jorge responded, "The ones who were never counted. The ones the Church failed. The ones I couldn't save." She says he was referring to victims of abuse in forgotten places, remote missions in South America, war-torn villages in Africa, impoverished parishes in Eastern Europe. Places where the Church turned a blind eye. Where crimes were never reported, and the victims never named. Jorge had tried to reopen these cases. But each time, he was blocked, by bishops, by Vatican officials, even by his own advisors. In the end, Maria says, he blamed himself. "I wanted to protect the faith," he told her, "but I ended up protecting the system." He gave her a wooden rosary. Old. Worn. It once belonged to a boy in Argentina, a boy who had come to the Church for help, and was turned away. He took his life a week later. "I've carried this for decades," Jorge said. "To remind myself of the price of silence." Maria says Jorge feared the silence would continue, especially under his successor. According to her, in his final days, he confided that a secret deal had already been made. The next pope had been chosen, not by divine inspiration, but by political maneuvering. "They've already chosen him," Jorge said. And he promised them silence. That man, she claims, is Cardinal Matteo Tedesco. Known for his charisma and political charm, Tedesco allegedly made assurances to powerful Vatican factions that he would bury certain files and halt ongoing investigations. Maria said that once Jorge's health began to decline, she noticed a shift, advisors were reassigned, investigations were stalled, and a final apostolic letter calling for transparency was shelved just weeks before his death. And then, she received an anonymous warning. Be careful what you say. Your brother died with dignity. Don't make the world question that. But Maria is undeterred. In her modest Buenos Aires home lies something that could change church history: Pope Francis' private journal. Filled with raw reflections and cryptic warnings, Maria says the journal contains everything: names, dates, events never made public. And now she stands at a crossroads. To honor the Church's silence, or her brother's truth. What she does next could send shockwaves across the globe.